Well, good morning, everybody, and I just want to greet you with a very happy Easter. I hope you're having a good day. I'm recording this in advance, of course, and this morning when I'm recording it, it's rather grey, slightly gloomy outside. I hope the weather is better, particularly as this is the first Sunday for a very long time that we've been able to meet together outside as families or to meet together in groups of 6. So I hope that if not now, at least at some point you're going to be taking advantage of that and enjoying Easter celebrations together in person. This morning I felt we should just look at the Easter story, just to look a little bit at it in a bit of detail and just learn a little bit more about the glorious things that Jesus Christ did on that first Easter Sunday morning. And in order to really get a handle on this, I think we need to understand just what it is that the disciples had been going through over that week leading up to Easter. Because, of course, the disciples, they had given up everything to follow Jesus. And as they start following Jesus, they hear his teaching, they hear what he's saying, how to live. They're hearing the amazing sort of turn upside downness of what he's saying. They're watching him transforming lives and bringing healing. They're watching him change people. They're watching him bring hope. They're watching him set people free from all sorts of torment and lack of peace. And they're seeing all of this happening and they're thinking, wow, this is why I gave up everything to follow this person, because if we could just get hold of this vision of how we should live, this will transform the world. And then on that Good Friday, it's like the heart had been torn out of it all. The heart had been taken out and Jesus, the leader, was dead. And what does this mean for the future? Everything, all your hopes and all your dreams have been shattered in one incredibly horrific moment. That's not all. The second thing that had happened is that Judas, one of their friends, one of their close friends, one of the 12, the one person Jesus loved, Judas had turned traitor. And they must have been thinking, we never saw that happening. Had anybody any idea that that's what he was going to do, that that's where he was? He seemed to be so secretive about this. It was like, it must be an awful thing to go through. And that's not all. The third thing was that Peter, who was the natural leader of the 12, Peter, at the supreme moment when they were relying on him to hold things together, he had sworn an oath that he was not a disciple and that he didn't even know Jesus. And they are all frightened and they are all in hiding. And then on that first Easter Sunday morning, suddenly women followers rush into the place where they're living with this amazing news. The tomb is empty, they're saying. The tomb is empty. We've met an angel and the angel says that Jesus is alive. Well, what do you do with that news? What do you do with it? Well, Peter and John, they immediately rush. They run to the tomb to see what's going on. And the women are absolutely right. The stone, this massive heavy stone boulder, which had been over the face of the tomb, had been rolled back. Peter and John go into the tomb, and there, where Jesus' body had been laying, wrapped up in loads of grave clothes, it's like the body had come through the grave clothes up, and the grave clothes had just gone down and were lying on the place where the body had been. John, when he's writing his gospel, he says, I saw that and I believed. Jesus must have been raised from the dead. There was no other explanation. But they're still trying to work out, what does this mean? So the two women, Mary Magdalene, and Matthew's gospel describes the other one as the other Mary. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary are leaving the tomb. They must go sort of rushing away. They go round the corner and suddenly they are face to face with Jesus. This is what it says, Matthew chapter 28, verse 9. Suddenly Jesus met them. Greetings, he said. They came to him, they clasped his feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee, and there they will see me. Now it says the two women are clasping Jesus' feet. You cannot clasp Jesus' feet or cannot clasp anybody's feet if you're standing up in front of them. The only way you can clasp someone's feet if you are kneeling down in front of them or flat on your face in front of them. And this is not so unusual. We find it repeated over and over. People who encountered Jesus, who met Jesus after he was raised from the dead, find themselves on their knees worshipping in front of him. Why is that? Well, one reason is this. Jesus had just been into battle against the two biggest enemies of the human race, and Jesus had won. Now, as humans, unfortunately, we know about fighting and battles. We fight over money, we fight over land, we fight over power, we fight over relationships, over women, over men, we fight over status, we fight over position. There are big battles, big wars, small battles, small wars happening between countries and areas and even in families all of the time. Some wars are enormous. The Second World War involved some 300 million soldiers at different times fighting. But the interesting thing is that not a single battle has been fought against our two biggest enemies, and Jesus, he goes into single-handed combat against our two biggest enemies for us. What are they? The first enemy, the first biggest enemy that we face is sin. How many lives have been wrecked by sin? Answer, everybody's. How many relationships have been damaged? How many careers have been destroyed? How many dreams have been finished? How many businesses, organisations, societies, families have been absolutely wrecked by sin? And it's like God the Father said, I am fed up with my human race family being wrecked by sin. And God the Son says, well, I will go in and I will fight the battle against sin. And Jesus on the cross went into battle against sin and he won. For Jesus' followers, sin no longer has the power to control your life. It no longer has that power. It doesn't have the power anymore to dominate your thinking, to wreck your relationships, to drive you into addictions, to prevent you from having a close relationship with God, your Heavenly Father. Why is that? Because Jesus has fought the battle of all battles against sin, and Jesus has won. Colossians chapter 2 says, Jesus disarmed all power and authorities and made a public spectacle over them, triumphing over them by the cross. So the first enemy Jesus destroyed is sin. The second enemy that Jesus has won the victory over is death. Well, this is an easy one on Easter Sunday to look at. You just have to look at the tomb. The tomb is empty. Jesus has won the victory over death. The impregnable fortress of death has just had a hole blown in its walls. Jesus, it says in Hebrews, delivered us who had been made slaves by the fear of death. So here comes Jesus into the garden to meet the two Marys. And he is the mighty warrior. He is fresh from battle. He's got all of that triumph and victory in his eyes. What an awesome sight. And Mary Magdalene and the other Mary just fall at his feet and worship him. If all I do this Easter is to eat chocolate rabbits, I have so missed the point. Oh, you might say, oh, Martin, there's eggs. Aren't eggs a symbol of new life? Well, yes, that's true. But an egg, compared to the greatest battle ever fought for the human race. Now, I like chocolate eggs. I love chocolate eggs. But there's a little bit more going on here than chocolate rabbits and chocolate eggs. Jesus has just mortally wounded your greatest enemies. Now, there's another thing happening as well. This is another thing. Not just that Jesus is a mighty warrior, and bear in mind that this is happening in an incredibly sexist society. Women had no place in this society. They had no respect. They had no status. But Jesus comes firstly to these two women, and he treats them with such respect. Greetings, he says to them. That's just the normal way, the normal word he uses in that context for saying hello. And then he says to them, don't be afraid. Jesus isn't just the greatest warrior ever, but he comes to these two women as their friend. And he comes to us today like that as well. A verse that we keep thinking about, Revelation 3. Behold, Jesus says, I'm standing at the door and knocking. He's standing at the door of your life. He's standing at the door of your heart and knocking on the door. If anyone is listening, if anyone's hearing and opens the door, I will come in and eat with them and they with me. This is Jesus. Who's this talking? It's Jesus. He's just smashed his way out of a grave. He could smash his way into your life. And yet he stands at the door of your life and knocks and asks to be let in. He's not just a mighty warrior. He's your friend. And he is your commander. He commands these women, go to Galilee, he says. And in Galilee, when they all gather together, right at the end of Matthew's Gospel, he gives instructions to his followers. Go, he says, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach them to obey everything I've commanded you. The greatest warrior, the greatest friend, the greatest commander is today asking you to be one of his disciples. What is your response to this? What's my response to this? The only response to this can be to hear his command and learn to obey everything he says. Learn to put into practice in my life everything that Jesus says and to worship him as my mighty warrior and my greatest friend and my commander. I know that all ages listen to these talks. If you're a youngster, if you're still at school, I want to invite you, be a disciple of Jesus Christ. Make a decision now to be a disciple all your life of Jesus Christ. You cannot make a better decision. Maybe you're a bit older, maybe you've got work, maybe a business, maybe you're very busy in life and everything else. But put Jesus first. Put him first in your life. Give your life to him. Give everything about your life to him. Make him again your warrior, your friend, and your commander. If you're retired, maybe you've got to the through your working life and you think, well, now it's some me time. But actually, this me time at the end of after your working life is for you to give to Jesus Christ and to still continue as a disciple of Jesus Christ right to the very end. I would encourage all of us this Easter Sunday to be those who are worshipping, not just eating chocolate eggs, not just eating chocolate rabbits, but worshipping Jesus, our King and our God, the one who has raised from the dead. Happy Easter, everybody.